And welcome. I'm Tara, and welcome to our DM Spotlight with the one and only B. Dave Walters, who's now going to emerge.
That's me being dramatic. I'm fading dramatically.
Lovely. Excellent. Well, we're just here today to chat a little bit about D&D, talk about what B. Dave has planned for the good folks of D&D in a Castle and D&D weekends. B. Dave is on all the things this year. Lots of B. Dave options today.
That is true. I'm pretty easy to find this year. Yeah, I think between the game, the sessions, and also the Gen Con games, I think it's what, like nine rounds or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and yet easy to find, and yet sold out in a lot of places. So multiple sold out rounds. You are coming in this weekend to a D&D Weekends event that's fully sold out. It was fully sold out pretty quickly. After that, you've got your Gen Con games, which I have to check to know if they're sold out, but I think they're close. If not, they are sold out too.
Sold out the first day.
There you go. And then we go into the D&D in a Castle USA for the first time, doing D&D in a Castle on American soil. So the first round of that was sold out also pretty quickly. And so we've just last week announced that you will be here for another round of D&D in a Castle in August. So if you missed out, this is your chance. Do jump on it because B. Dave is very popular. And then there's another 2 rounds of D&D in a Castle and another D&D Weekends event.
Yes,
Woo!
A lot.
So
yes,
that's lots of B. Dave, but a lot of those are sold out. The D&D Weekends, remind me of the dates of those. That's in September.
There's
the top of my head, I should have that information.
2 seats left in September, 2 seats left in October. November is sold out. September 26th to the 29th in Atlanta.
That's the one. So very cool. So tell us a little bit about what you've got planned for those things. First of all, are they all going to be different, or are they going to have some similarities or some overlapping elements in all of those games you're going to be running?
So historically, what I tend to do is I tend to have a certain campaign that I run for the year, and I kind of have my annual campaign, because I find even if I think it's going to be the same after the inciting incident, people make completely different choices and the game goes a completely different direction. I'm intending to test something this weekend with the Lake House game where, pending some of the choices that they make, I think I might set subsequent games after this one. But again, my niche is level 20, high stakes. You got to save the whole universe. Like literally, this time, all the realms, all the planes, everywhere you have to save. So it's hard to get much higher stakes than that. I don't want to say anything because it's a spoiler, but it's you can get some Ravenloft, can get some Planescape, can get some Spelljammer. So it's a lot.
Cool. Have you done the D&D weekends before at the lake, or is this your first one that's coming up?
I've done it twice already. This will be number 3. In fact, I was the second right after Mark Meir to get in there. Right. So like Mark and I are always neck and neck for like who can do the most of these things. He's slightly ahead of me because he did some during the pandemic that I couldn't make. So I would say I have to catch up to him, but I'll never catch him because now we're in parallel. So
yeah.
In fact, he was just there this past weekend.
I was going to say, you guys are back to back there.
And I would be remiss if I didn't point out that my good friend Jason Carl is doing Lake House also in September, I think.
Also sold out.
Oh, his Lake House is sold out?
His Lake House is sold out too.
Well, there you go. But he
D&D weekend's popular.
His is November 21st to the 24th, but his is sold out. So here's the thing. I love Jason dearly. He is a very good friend. He is not the social media butterfly that I am. So I have to perform my hype man services for his sake.
I see. Well, yeah, Jason is awesome. He does have a couple of seats at D&D in a Castle in the fall. One of his tables is fully full, and there's a couple of seats in the other one because he's doing back-to-back rounds in the fall.
I think we're the exact opposite. I think I have 2 seats in October and he's sold out, and then he has 2 seats in November and I'm sold out, I think. So there you go. You could come to either. You could come to both. You
Come
know,
to both. Oh my God. B Dave one week, Jason Kroll another week. I mean, that's kind of gonna, like, that ticks every box. I don't know.
just say
That's the ultimate vacation. I don't think you're ever gonna top that.
there it
So
is.
tell me the difference in your experience
No.
of doing D&D weekends versus doing D&D in a castle.
You know, I was actually just talking to Mike about this a little earlier today. I'd say that there's two things. The weekend is a little shorter because you basically have two proper gaming days and sort of a session zero-ish thing. Because we get together on a Thursday, we play that Thursday. How long we play that Thursday kind of depends on what time everybody gets there, how worn out they are from travel, you know, the sort of act of God thing. And then we go all day Friday and all day Saturday. And usually by Sunday morning, it's more kind of like getting ready to say goodbye. So it's slightly less overall table time than the castle. But it is a far more intimate experience at the castle. We spend way more time hanging out, talking to each other. If it's the type of thing where you want actual FaceTime with me to talk about things like streaming or gaming or just relax and raise a cup together, that kind of happens every night at the lake house. Some people go, it's a beautiful lake house. It is literally sitting on a lake. So every time some people decide to go to bed, some people go pretty hard. The last one I was at, everyone there were a gaming group that had met during the pandemic but had never met in person.
Oh, cool.
So they, of course, were, you know, very much happy to be together and stayed up into the wee hours. They went harder than I did. So that's the number one thing. It is a more intimate experience, more relaxing experience, I think, especially if maybe you get overwhelmed by crowds or large groups or anything like that. The castle's very nice because it's super chill, or the lake house rather is very nice because it's super chill. The castle, on the other hand, well, and also let's call a spade a spade. The lake house is in the United States. The ticket price is a little less. The travel's a little less. All of it's just going to be a little less if there's a budgetary constraint. You know, I know how it is in the year 2024. The castle, on the other hand, is the spectacle. It is a proper castle with proper castle ghosts in it and proper English staff. And it is a full-scale, immersive luxury vacation where there is more time at the table. There's 3 full days of playing, which works out to, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours more. You know, we'll say 20, 25% more time at the table. And then you have the banquets and you have a ball and you have more people. And it is more about interacting with your fellow participants, your fellow guests, and usually less about interacting with the DM. Me being me, I tend to still at least have a cocktail once or twice with the people, but usually it's kind of the thing where you play and then the DMs kind of vanish and you sort of interact with each other and kind of enjoy the grounds. So it's a bit of a larger scale experience at the castle. But in terms of,
I'd say
no,
the
please.
castle feels more like a community,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the lake house it's about your game, it's about the DM, it's about your adventuring party. But when you're at the castle, you're part of a community, and you really get to feel just immersed in a whole world. And yeah, it's really the dream. Being at the castle, it's just bigger, it's more, it's longer, you get to forget reality completely at the castle. It's a total escape. I mean, that's what D&D is, right? It's an escape in a way.
Absolutely.
It's lots of things. One of them, I think, is an escape. And so the castle, I think, is the escape. So, so you said there's going to be a little bit of Ravenloft. There might be multiple settings. You're going to give us any more?
Nope.
No.
I'm being vague. No, definitely multiple settings. Definitely the fate of all reality is in your hands. I think if you're familiar with me in my work, it's funny because one of the mistakes I made is I had kind of my castle campaign that I would run, and then I ran something similar for a charity game. and then people start figuring out what I was up to because I like to be tricky. So that's why I had to retire that campaign. My things always level 20. Always high stakes, high emotion is kind of my thing. And it's funny because I was just talking to Tara and Justin, who is not, his face is not here, but his spirit is here. And by his spirit is here, I mean he's literally on this call. I was talking to him about, people say like, ooh, level 20 is so lethal, it's so much harder. And I'm like, no, it's not actually. The game is at its most lethal from levels 1 to 3. When you have 10 hit points in one spell, and a goblin with an axe can crit and kill you and your friends can't do anything about it, that's when the game's at its most lethal. At level 20, it's really hard to die and stay dead at level 20 in D&D. So the game then becomes more about not what can you do, because you kind of can do anything, especially if you're a wizard. You literally can do anything, but you kind of can do anything. It becomes more about what will you do? You know, how will you apply this power that you've got? What choices are you going to make? What sacrifices are you going to make in the course of what it takes? Are you going to jump in front of your friend and take the disintegrate that was meant for them? That kind of thing is what it is. And I'm always looking for opportunities at the table, whatever level, but especially at the higher level, to make people feel like rock stars and feel like heroes and feel like the things they do matter. And when all of reality is hanging in the balance, believe me, you will know that what you do matters.
So what do you think? I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think is or constitutes a great game of D&D? Describe a great and awesome, I don't want to say perfect because that's not really a thing, but what makes an amazing game of D&D?
Let me detour slightly to a question I see here, because this is directly relevant. So I'm kind of going to address both. That somebody said they don't know if they could be around people and stay in character for that long. There's a lot of breaks, first of all. In second, if you can't stay in character that long or your social battery runs out, like, that's okay. There's no one is going to look at you and be like, you must be Fizzlegig the gnome rogue this entire time or we'll all hate you. You know, like, it's not like that at all. It's everybody's there to have a good time. And something that I find also is, of course, we're talking about me and here and my table and how we do things. But there's lots of DMs, and they all have a wonderful style, and they all run a wonderful table. And one thing I find is that every time I've done, I think, 12 rounds of D&D in a castle, and plus the lake houses, we'll call it 14 rounds of this now. I find every time the right people end up at the right table. Like, it never fails. So if you know somebody's play style, if you know the kind of game that they kind of run, you know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make sure everybody at the table has a good time, but I have a very specific aesthetic of the stories I tell. If you know someone else has a sort of aesthetic that you like, play at their table, you know, and you're more likely to make sure you have the kind of experience that you want. I mean, we're all there to tend to our people, but like, off the top of my head, Elisa Teague does a lot with minis and miniatures. She also does a lot with puzzles. That's her thing. I don't do anything with minis and miniatures. I have very few puzzles. That's not my thing. So if that's your jam, Elisa's table is probably going to be more fulfilling than mine's going to be. If you like really intricate setups and sculptures, or if you have like what is it, aphantasia, where you have trouble with a theater of the mind type thing, my table might be less of the proper place for you, right? So I'd say play it by ear, but don't let the fact that you're like, I don't know if I could kind of keep up for that time, be a hindrance. I assure you that you can.
It goes so fast.
Yeah,
it goes so fast.
Yeah,
that's you know, like the time, you don't feel it. You don't feel it. You're just laughing and having fun, and then you're just like, when can we get back to the table? When do we play D&D again? We're here to play D&D. Let's play some D&D.
One of the things that I tell everybody is it is going to go so much faster than you think. Like you were going to blink and it is going to be time to go home. Like I give people little touchstones all the way down. I'm like, we're halfway done. This is halfway it. Make sure you take the time to sort of take a deep breath and walk around and take in the grounds, because it is going to blaze past. Now, you said what is the perfect game of D&D, or perfect game
Or
of D&D?
great.
Yeah, you're great. To me, the thing that sets TTRPGs aside from video games is the fact that you have infinite options in a TTRPG. And of course,
Right.
infinite. In that no matter how good the sandbox of a video game gets, you can't say, well, I'm in the starting town. I want to marry the baker's daughter and settle down and live in the starting town. And that's what I want to do. Or I want to I realize the evil wizard's making a lot of sense. I want to join the evil wizard. Like, the Emperor's here. I'll be the next Dark Lord of the Sith. Sign me up. Video games don't really have that. Not really. Like, no matter how many options you've got, they are limited, which this was another thing that we were talking about right before we went live, that I was talking about how sometimes, especially newer storytellers and also sometimes newer players, there's the things kind of get put heavily on rails where it's like you must go to the castle and you must talk to the king. And sometimes players catch on to that and they become obstinate and they were like, I will do anything but go to the castle and talk to the king. Whereas as long as everybody at the table is having a good time, it's fine if they spend the entire time interacting with your adorable old man that is selling loaves of bread in the market square, if that's the game the players at the table want to play. So for me, the thing that makes a good game of D&D is everyone gets a chance to feel like their contribution matters. The fact that they're there at the table is important. That the things that their characters do and that their characters don't do have a meaningful impact on both the session and on the world. Like, the spotlight should fall on everybody at some point and you get to feel like a rock star. And that may be if you have a very talky character, you talk your way out of a tough situation. If you have a very sneaky assassin rogue, maybe they manage to sneak up and eliminate the general before the fight even starts, type thing. But everybody getting a time where they get to feel like, yeah, I did it. That's the most important thing of what I think makes a really great game. And then that can look 100 ways. At a low-level game, that could be you successfully rescue a direwolf pup from a rapidly rising creek, or you stare down Tiamat single-handedly. Like, it can come in a lot of different ways, but getting that feeling inside, that's what makes a great game. And if you've heard me say I judge my effectiveness and how quickly I can make someone cry, and that is true. It is not just that your tears strengthen me, although they do. It is because that means that human being is feeling something real and genuine. Because as a DM, your job is to elicit an emotional response. It doesn't matter what the emotional response is. It can be shaking your head yes, shaking your head no. It can be laughing. It can be crying. It can be terror. It can be like, oh no, this is all so horrible. But as long as a human being is feeling something, because what I think is the greatest strength, not just of D&D, but specifically D&D in a castle, is our minds don't know the difference between something that is real and something that is vividly imagined. Obviously, I won't say anything, too overt here, but you can visualize certain fantasies in your mind and your body will physiologically respond because your mind doesn't know the difference. So in every way that really matters, when you go on this adventure and you slay the dragon with your friends, in your mind, that's real. You did that. You and this group went and did something heroic. And that is what is going to live with you beyond going to a football match or a sporting event or a concert. Like those things are experiential, but they're not as experiential as like I did that.
Mhm.
And that's why you have lasting bonds that form. I have people that met at my tables at these events that are real friends now, that continued playing together afterwards. If they live near each other, they like hang out and go and do things because in a real meaningful way, you went there and back again together.
Yeah. So that making it real for people, and that reality being people's emotional connection to the story, or response to the story being real, whether they're, and I think that the castle actually contributes to that, because
Hmm.
because there's no interruptions, there's
Hmm.
no intrusion of obligation, there's nothing to remove you from that experience. That experience can just dominate your life the entire time that you're there, and there's no reason for it not to.
Hmm.
There's no competing, pulling you away, you know, responsibilities of adulthood. For example, you don't
Yep.
have to cook, you don't have to clean,
Yep.
you don't
Baby's
have to
not
do any of
crying.
the
Yep.
things. Nobody's crying. No one
Hmm.
has to go home because the babysitter canceled. Like all the
Hmm.
things, you are just in there, and the amount of time that you get to be in there. What are you've come back to the castle a lot of times,
Hmm.
and you're doing a bunch of D&D weekends. What is it that draws you back as a DM to those events? What makes you want to keep coming back?
Um, I am a man of the people. I
Give
I
the
I
people what
love
they want, and what they want is more B-Day boulders.
exactly right. Yeah, I really enjoy interacting with the people at the table. I enjoy interacting with the people at the castle. Um, the castle's wonderful. Lumley is beautiful. I really enjoy it. But again, I've been 6 or 7 times, so I mean, I have scratched the Lumley itch. What I haven't scratched is the human itch of being together and being in that environment. Because the DM is playing too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, I'm having fun also. So it is as much it is a getaway and an experience for me as well. And with the lake house, I mean, on a meta level, I've got some family in Atlanta, and I used to live there for a while, so it's good to see it on occasion. But I enjoy the fact that we can relax and sit by the fire pit and talk, or pending the weather. A couple of times we've taken the boat out and we played on the boat, um, that kind of thing. It's almost like I've heard D&D in a castle referred to as D&D summer camp more than once, but the lake house is really D&D summer camp. Like legit, like there's a lake right over there if you want to go swim in it, like knock yourself out. So yeah, that's what it is for me.
You say we do. Many people have referred to D&D the castle as like D&D summer camp, and I think there are a lot of parallels in terms of, if you went to summer camp as a kid, not everybody did. I did, went to various summer camps, and that feeling you have at the end of the summer camp is the same feeling you have at the end of D&D in a castle, where you just like that pain of going back to reality that you don't want to. You just want to be there forever with all your friends, and everybody is your friend. And
Hmm.
uh, uh, my brother said to me recently, my brother Cameron is the co-founder with me of D&D in a Castle. He said, I don't think it's D&D summer camp. I think it's D&D heaven. Um, and I think that's what D&D in a Castle is. It's like, what would you have for D&D heaven? You would have a castle. You would have a great DM. You would have a great game. You would have a small space and all the time to play, and no one would ever cancel or have to go home early. And you would have access to great supplies if you wanted them. I know you're a theater of the mind guy, but if you wanted to have an amazing Tiamat monster gargantuan, you could have it. Like everything that would make D&D amazing, you can play D&D anywhere. D&D in the castle is D&D heaven.
This little
Yay!
girl, what her,
That
her,
girl. Hey,
yeah.
sweetheart. Yes, that's the one. Yeah, and I definitely, I mentioned before about the community aspect. Is that you come for the castle, you come for the celebrity dungeon masters, you come for even for the D&D, but I think what brings people back over and over is the community and the feeling of community, and what a
Mhm.
supportive and just lovely, like excited, joyful community. I think that's what, if I wanted to convey anything about D&D in a Castle, I'd want to convey is the joy of it. Like, what you're signing up for is joy. You're signing up
Mhm.
to just be happy and feel amazing and express joy in a like, you know, untainted kind of way. Like,
Mhm.
just we're here to play, just play. There's no other reason to be here, and you kind of can't be too cynical when you're just there to play D&D and
Yeah.
have fun with your friends,
Yep.
for multiple days. And there's really no therapy like that. There's nothing so cathartic as just giving your imagination space and allowing yourself to play and to have friends.
Yep.
And the wonderful thing I think about D&D is the structure that allows people to connect with other people, um, in a structured way that removes a lot of anxiety. I mean,
Yeah.
even me, who's very extroverted, I still have social anxiety in new settings, to new people, and the structure of the game allows that to be managed and dealt with and moved forward, like to move the people forward together, and they feel held. They feel kind of they know what they're supposed to do. They take their turn, they make their choices. There's a structure that sort of facilitates and kind of helps people into that process, and it happens so quickly. It's remarkable to see how fast that process is of people gelling
Yeah.
at the castle. And it's the
Absolutely.
joy just gels people. Joy gels people.
Joy gels people.
Joy gels people.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a question here about how many times do you see the same group or mostly the same group return multiple times? I'll let Tara answer this in more detail because obviously she sees every single time. I just have seen most of them. I find people fall into one of two categories very broadly. Um, One group of people, this is a bucket list thing. It's something they always wanted to do. They come and they do that thing, and then they have done that thing. And then there is a different group of people that this is their annual extravagance, and they come every year or every other year. Because I see some of the same faces that I'm there. When I'm there, they're there, and have come from all over the world. I have seen entire groups that came together. I've seen a lot of couples that came together, and of course, a lot of people that come solo. I mean, I would
A lot.
submit the majority of people come solo. So if you're
Yeah.
coming solo, don't feel weird about it. Yeah. So, but in my experience, those two big buckets of this is something I always wanted to do. I'm going to do it, and I've done it. Versus now, this is the thing I do every year, every other year. Like I know there's one person that I won't bust them out. That I know they're an investor, and they have it in their mind that they're like, if I get a certain return every year, I go to D&D in a castle, and that's their thing. So different people definitely handle it different ways.
Yeah, we definitely get a lot of people. Like, every event, we get multiple people who tell us this was supposed to be a once in a lifetime. And now I have to eat ramen all my life so I can save my pennies. And when I have enough, I will come back again because this is my happy place. This is where I want to be. And when you reach a certain point in life, you just want to do what you love. You want to spend, like, what do I want to do? Some people like to go hiking in the Andes. Some people want to go on like a bicycle tour of France, or
Mhm.
do skydiving. I don't want to do those things. I want to eat cake
Mhm.
in a castle with all my friends. Like, that's what I want to do. People, they just want to play some D&D. So.
Well, and I think that is one of the beautiful things about the Ohio castle is, again, it's a little lower barrier of entry. If, like, you want to do the castle over in England, but logistically, maybe you've got young kids, maybe you can't get as much time off work. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, sometimes there's a financial consideration. It's a lower barrier to be able to get in there. And then again, there's all the lake houses too. So there's something for everybody. There's a chicken for every pot, I say. Yeah.
So choose your chicken with B-Day Walden.
Choose
your chicken.
So chicken and joy jelly is what I've taken from
Joy
this.
jelly.
Chicken
That's like
and joy
some
jelly.
kind of weird Korean band. I don't know. K-pop. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Well, thank you for joining us, B. Dave. Any other words you want to leave us with? Any other comments you wanted to share? Thoughts you wanted to share about D&D in general? Anything you want to leave us with?
I would say that, I think D&D is the greatest game in the world. I've been playing for over 30 years because I'm way older than I look. I never thought it would take me to the places that it's taken me, which has been amazing and been a blessing. I would say that if you have the ability to come to one of these events, do it. If you're thinking about it, if you're not sure, do it. You will not regret it. I'm telling you, it is a one of a kind experience. It is the closest thing in life that we get to actually getting to explore dungeons and actually getting to slay dragons and actually go on adventures with your friends. So again, there's spots at my tables in August in Ohio, in September in Atlanta, and in October in England. But like I said, there are a lot of incredible storytellers doing a lot of amazing things at tables all over the place. So if you're thinking about it, definitely do it. And looking forward to seeing you.
Amazing. Yeah. And if you head on to dndinthecastle.com, there is a chat function there, and there are real people behind the chat function if you have questions, which I'm sure you do, about committing to this experience. And we'd love to answer all of your questions. No obligations. You can even schedule a call with us and we'll call you and talk to you about it. Whether it's choosing B-Dave or a different DM, or which event you think would suit you, or what's all involved and what is it actually like. But go with DB. No, all our DMs are great. So thank you for joining us, and we will catch you all next time. And thank you, B-Dave, for being with us, and we'll see you at the castle. I'll see you at the castle. Can't
Pleasure's
wait.
all mine. I'm flying out tomorrow for one of these things. So, all right, bye-bye.
Take care.